So I went to an auction today, and I didn't keep my hand down long enough, quick enough. Kept it up too long, I should say. Came home with the WD. Just what I needed, right? Another project. But it's got good rubber all around, brand new on the front, really good on the rear. The engine is stuck, but from what I've been told, it was outside. It hasn't been outside terribly long, a few years or something. Before that, it had been stored in a pole barn. The guy that fixed it is passed, so of course we can't get any information from him. But best we can tell, he wouldn't have gone through the effort of giving it this rattle can paint job if he didn't have it running and driving. Because there's a lot of new parts, you know, they're old, you know, weather checked now, but you could tell it had new plugs, new wires, cap, gauges, even though they're aftermarket ones, you know, basic tune-up stuff. Pretty straight looking tractor. Sheet metal is beautiful. A little bit of a here, but that's no big deal. Missing one tie rod, so we got a little steering set up here to unload it. Pretty clean. Nice battery box. Fenders are really nice. Wheel weights on both sides. Aftermarket flip-up seat. Let's see if we can get her unloaded here. Well, it's a couple days later. Got the tractor unloaded, of course. I think the goal for today, we'll probably just pull the head off and see what we're dealing with as far as how stuck this engine really is. If we pull the head off and everything looks relatively good, we'll probably make some attempt to get it freed up. If we pull it off and it's full of water and rust and icky, then it might just be a put the head back on and this will be another day type of project. Dad did pull the rocker cover the other day just to peek in there. Everything looked really good actually. Tiny little bit of surface rust, which you would expect to find on a tractor that's been sitting for a while. Nothing to be concerned about at all. So every indication shows that this was a running and driving tractor when it was parked in the barn. And like I said, at some point several years ago it got pulled outside. Most likely that's when it got stuck. So with any luck it might not be stuck that bad, but we'll find out. For the price of a head gasket, it's cheap insurance to pull that and inspect things before we try to really put any effort to it to get it freed up. So I'll check back when I have something to show you. The radiator, antifreeze drained down, at least the block level there. There's a peek of the valve train. Like I said, nothing terrible sticking out to us there. Clear as you can expect it to be. The head off. Nothing too cringeworthy. Number 2 is a little bit of surface rust. I suppose that's the one the valves were open or whatever. But it's not like it was full of water or anything crazy. Pretty good sign. Here's the head. Again, nothing terrible at all there. Very good. A little bit of surface rust on 2 again, which makes sense. It almost looks like it had been all gone through. Those valves look really nice. I almost think you probably went through this engine. At least freshened everything up if it hasn't been replaced. Well, good news, bad news. Good news is we got the engine freed up. It really wasn't stuck hard at all. It was just very lightly stuck on number 2. We just took the butt of a hammer, you know, tapped it back and forth a little bit. Got a hand crank, it turned right over. It wasn't even hardly stuck. So that was really not a big issue at all. The bad news is there is scoring on 1 and 4, like where the wrist pin or bushing or something was rubbing on the sleeve, and not knowing what Mr. Mogren, the previous owner that fixed this is now passed, not knowing what he did, we don't know if that issue has been addressed or not. So I think we're going to pull the engine out, so we can pull the pan, pull the pistons, check that out. If it has been fixed, we'll probably just put it all back together. Or, even though I know it's scored, that's not right, but this is just one of those, probably be good enough type of a tractor. This isn't a 1,000-point restoration one or anything like that. So yeah, we'll just be out a gasket set, put it all back together, good to go. If it ends up that issue has not been addressed, then we'll have to think about, is it worth buying a whole rebuild kit? You know, you're looking at probably $1,000 plus to rebuild the whole engine and do it right. Is it worth it for this tractor or not? We're hoping he's fixed it already, and all we're out is a gasket set and a little bit of insurance that we checked everything over, so to speak. And we figure we could probably do it right in frame, but if we pull the engine out, put it on the engine stand in the shop, I can do it at the convenience. Not have it rely on weather, because we're running into fall here where weather could turn bad any time. We could check out our engine clutch at the same time, see what kind of condition that's in. Excuse me, got the hiccups. We did pull the battery box, and the cover here looked in the wet clutch. Everything looks good there. We actually tightened up one loose bolt in there, and that actually helped take up some slop on the hand clutch there. It's got decent snap now. You know, not perfect, but for a working machine, it'd probably be fine. It's actually better than my other running WD back home. So that's where we are now. Like I said, I think we're gonna pull the engine out. I kind of made a decision, so I'm gonna finish draining the radiator and take some more stuff apart and go from there. Engine is out. There's one sugar picker. Let's put it on the engine stand here next. Well, the color on my tree tells me we're running out of nice weather. Fall is here and winter is at our doorstep. A little update on the WD. So we showed you we had pulled the engine. We rolled the tractor back over here next to the garage for now, because most likely that's where it's going to sit until probably springtime, because the trailer is pretty much put away for the year. We're not going to make another trip out here to haul this back home. Such a pretty this time of year. I like looking at those fall leaves. Let's show you what we got going on in here. So I think we showed you we had the block all torn down. If not, yep, it is. Liners are bad, like I had told you. Number 1 and number 4 are scored because the wrist pins were installed incorrectly on those two pistons, and they were sticking out too far, and they scored the side. Very common problem from what I've told. I'm not an expert on these engines by any means, but I talked to a few people and they say that happens a lot. Other than that, the pistons themselves actually look pretty good. He probably put a new set of rings on it when he went through the engine, the previous owner. I think all of that would probably be fine once you fix the wrist pin issue and you clean up all the fuzzy rust on everything. But the liners, sleeves are definitely not good. Scored, and then 2 and 3 have a lot of pitting on them. So they're pretty bad. So like I think I kind of mentioned, maybe I didn't. That's the problem with doing these videos over a period of time. It's been a couple of weeks at least since Dad was here and helped tear this down. I'm just getting back to it now. So we talked it through, and basically we came to the unfortunate decision that we're not going to put this tractor back together. It's not cost effective to do. We've discovered a number of little things that it's just like, by the time you go through the engine and even do it halfway right, not even completely right, you're looking at well over $1,000 just to do that. More than that if you're going to do it right. The head, it was decent, but there again, once we started really studying things, there's a number of issues. The rotators on the valves are bad. They're actually missing parts, and I don't know what was going on there. If he didn't know what was going on, or if he just put it back together and pretend he didn't see what was going on. But there again, by the time you buy the new rotators and stuff, you're probably looking at $100 there just to freshen up the head. The valves and seats and everything, that would be fine. That would all clean up. It looked like the surfaces on the manifold were actually probably cleaned up. They look pretty good. He painted it and went over the paint, but I think if you cleaned everything up, it would probably be a little bit of pitting on the head. But I think it would probably be okay, especially if you spent a little bit of time with the flat file or whatever. By rights, you could fly cut it again or something. But like I said, this is going to be a donor machine because we discovered enough things wrong that it's just WD. It'd be different if it was a family tractor. You know, if this was Grandpa's tractor, I wouldn't even hesitate. I would rebuild it. I'd put it back together. But the reality of it, this is just an auction tractor. There's no sentimental attachment to this one. So we are going to use it as a parts machine to make my other running WD back home a better unit. We discover, like I said, some issues, which is good reason why it's nice to go through a machine. You know, never assume what the last guy did. He did it right, because there's a good chance, Exhibit A, Exhibit B, that he didn't. Exhibit C. So we were cleaning out all the sludge in the bottom of the pan, and there was like bubbles. I'm like, what the heck is that? So I started picking a little bit, and here he had put a layer of what we can only assume is some type of an epoxy on the bottom of the pan here in this corner to cover up. There's rust pitting, and there's a hole in the bottom of the pan that you can see the light of day through. So instead of just cleaning it up and welding it up like a proper fix would be, or finding a better pan, he put some epoxy over it, which obviously had failed because it was all bubbling up. So it's like, geez, you know, what other kind of stuff like that are we going to find? And like I said, there was a few things like that were kind of like, It's a good thing we tore this engine down and we just didn't get it going and send it, because there would have just been issues in the long run. You know, once that started leaking, lose your oil, bad things. I don't know if I showed you, there's the clutch there. Doesn't look terrible. It's a used clutch. I think it would have been all right to run. You know, that could be cleaned up. So what we're going to do, and Dad's already, when he went home, he actually took a few boxes worth of parts that he had room in the back of the truck. We're going to bring all these parts back to Wisconsin. We will file the stuff away that is good for future projects. The junk we'll throw away. What we really don't need, we might sell. Most of it, like I said, we already have kind of homes for, so to speak, between my running WD, I have a Project WD in the row of tractors there. Most of the extra parts will go to that pile to make a more viable option there. Things like this head and manifold and stuff will store away for future use. Because like I said, we got good valves and stuff that could get used in a different project, or put this head back together and it'd be a good usable head once you put new rotators on. I already went through the carb, took that apart, cleaned it, checked it. Nothing really seemed to be wrong with that. Once I gave it a little cleaning, it could use a new gasket or whatever, but nothing major there. Here's the cam. Nothing seemed to be wrong with that. We took and mic'd. All the lobes are the same, so it's not as if we have a crazy amount of wear or anything like that. As far as I know, it's a good cam. The crank is not perfect. There's some, very minor pitting or whatever. You probably could run it as is if it was just a throw it together type of project, or as far as I know, this would be a good crank to, if you wanted to do it right and get it ground and do it a by rights rebuild. So there again, we'll cosmoline that all up and put it up into storage for future projects. The actual tractor itself will probably haul it home as is and then break it down. Another option would be we could break it down and bring it back in pieces. We'll decide what's going to go on there. But for sure, I'll take like the wheels, rims, probably weights, put them on my other WD because those have lousy tires and mediocre rims. I will take the fenders and brackets off and put them on the other WD because I don't have a good set of fenders on there. I'll have a nice little bullet light then, rear light, because I don't have one of them. Might take the optional flip seat and put that on the tractor. This one's actually got a pretty decent steering wheel. It's cracked, but it's not missing any big chunks. We'll probably take the whichever wheels are better between this and the other tractor and put on there. I'll probably take the front pedestal from this tractor and put on my other WD because that one has been broken and welded where this one has not. The 45 has a aftermarket power steering, which is bad, so we'll probably just put this straight shaft steering back on it just to make it easier to move around. Battery box gauge, I think I could use a better one of them on the WD. I think I might have one, but if I remember right, it's kind of bad shape. It's been so long since I even looked at it. Got a magneto on it, so we don't really even use anything on there. The battery box for this, Dad already brought back. That'll go on the WD because we don't have a good battery box. So yeah, it'll be a lot of good parts that we will use to complete other projects. It's a shame to part out a machine. I hate to be that guy, but sometimes you just have to. It's not feasible to, well, I shouldn't say that. It would be feasible to bring this one back. You could, but financially, for me, it doesn't make sense. Why would I drop? You're going to put easily a couple $1,000s just to get this back to a running, driving tractor. Not even counting if you're going to actually go through and paint it, which this one kind of could use since it's already been halfway rattle canned. It's not like it's a nice original Survivor where you could just leave it in its original paint. So that's the route we're going. It's probably going to bum some people out, but it's not as if I was looking for another project. It'd be different too if I was all caught up and I had picked up this tractor and okay, yeah, this will be the next project. Let's tear it down and restore it, and for sure. But it's like I got so many projects right now. Exhibit A, Exhibit B is in the yard that, I don't really need another project right now. So that's kind of where we're at. So I think I'll take a few minutes here and Probably box some of these parts back up and get them out of the way so we can get back to what we are supposed to be working on. Supposed to be working on the 1525 projects. So that's what I know there. I just figured I should kind of give this video some type of a little bit of an ending, just so you know what's going on. I know there's a couple of guys asking me, wondering what I've been up to on it. So yeah, that's what I know. I've been told that this block is a kind of desirable block with the dash 40. I guess a lot of the engine pullers are always looking for them because you can put a 45 crank in these WD blocks to make it a little bit bigger, better, more powerful tractor. Here's the flywheel. Ring gear would need to be replaced on it, but flywheel. Yeah. All right. Thank you all for watching, and we will get back to our regularly scheduled projects here soon. With fall getting here, like just about time to go to the garage and don't come out until springtime. Usually that's what happens. So, all right. Talk to you guys later. Thanks for watching. Oh, man. I'm going to have to rake leaves. Come on. I'm not ready for it to be winter yet. Oh well, let's go see what's going on in the garage.